My mother forced me to be left-handed like her since age 5. When I secretly used my right hand, she broke my fingers. I was 8 years old when Mom caught me drawing with my right hand in my bedroom and slammed the door so hard the whole house shook. She grabbed my wrist and twisted it until I dropped the crayon, her fingernails digging into my skin as she dragged me to the kitchen table. She pulled out the wooden cutting board and told me to place my right hand flat against it, palm down. When I hesitated, she pushed my hand down herself and picked up the meat tenderizer from the drawer. The first blow landed across my knuckles with a wet crack that made me scream louder than I ever had before. She hit my fingers 3 more times while I begged her to stop, each impact sending white-hot pain shooting up my arm. My pinky and ring finger bent at wrong angles and started swelling immediately. Mom drove me to the emergency room while I sobbed in the passenger seat, cradling my mangled hand against my chest. She coached me in the parking lot about what to say, her voice sweet and concerned like she hadn't just destroyed my fingers with kitchen equipment. "Tell them you fell off your bike and landed wrong," she instructed, fixing my hair and wiping my tears. "If you say anything else, I'll break the other hand too." The ER doctor examined my fingers and frowned at the x-rays, commenting that the fractures looked unusual for a bike accident. Mom jumped in immediately with details about how clumsy I was, how I always fell off my bike, how she'd been telling me to be more careful. The doctor seemed satisfied with her explanation and put my fingers in splints. For the next 6 weeks, I had to write with my left hand exclusively because my right was immobilized. Mom watched me constantly during those weeks, making sure I didn't try to use my injured fingers even for simple tasks like opening doors or picking up toys. She praised me when I struggled through left-handed writing assignments, telling me how proud she was that I was finally learning to do things the right way. The right way meant her way, the way she'd learned to write after her own mother had forced her to switch hands as a child. When the splints came off, my fingers were stiff and weak, and the doctor recommended physical therapy to restore their function. Mom refused the physical therapy and told the doctor I would heal naturally with time. She didn't want anyone else examining my hands or asking questions about the injuries. At home, she made me practice writing with my left hand for hours every day, timing me on simple sentences and criticizing my letter formation. When I instinctively reached for something with my right hand, she would smack it away and remind me that right-handed people were weak and careless. She told me stories about how left-handed people were more creative and intelligent, how we were special and chosen. She said my father had been right-handed and that's why he'd left us when I was 3 years old. The lies came naturally to Mom because she'd been telling them her whole life. She created an entire mythology around our left-handedness, claiming we came from a long line of left-handed women who possessed unique gifts. She showed me faded photographs of her grandmother supposedly writing with her left hand, though I noticed the images looked flipped in some strange way. She bought me left-handed scissors and notebooks and made a big production of how special and rare our supplies were. Everything in our house was arranged for left-handed people, from the way she set the table to the position of light switches and door handles she had rewired. School became a nightmare because I couldn't keep up with my classmates when writing. My left-handed letters were shaky and illegible compared to the neat handwriting I'd developed with my right hand before Mom caught me. Teachers marked down my assignments for poor penmanship and suggested I get extra help, but Mom insisted I was just adjusting and would improve with practice. She volunteered to help with classroom activities so she could monitor me and make sure I didn't slip back into right-handed habits. During art class, she would position herself where she could see my hands and give me warning looks if I started to reach for supplies with my right hand. Mrs. Brennan, my 3rd grade teacher, pulled me aside one day and asked why my handwriting had gotten so much worse since the beginning of the school year. I wanted to tell her the truth, but Mom's threat about breaking my other hand echoed in my mind. Instead, I lied and said I was trying to write like my mom because she was left-handed too. Mrs. Brennan suggested I might be ambidextrous and could benefit from using both hands for different tasks. But when I mentioned this at home, Mom became furious. She screamed that there was no such thing as ambidextrous, that people who claimed to use both hands were just confused and weak-willed. The control extended beyond handwriting into every aspect of my daily life. Mom made me brush my teeth, eat, and throw balls with my left hand exclusively. She watched me during meals and corrected my grip on utensils, sometimes reaching across the table to reposition my fingers. When I played catch with neighborhood kids, she stood at the window to make sure I threw with my left arm, even though it felt awkward and unnatural. The other kids noticed how poorly I threw and stopped including me in games, which Mom said was proof that right-handed people were prejudiced against us. By 5th grade, I had developed a permanent cramp in my left hand from forcing it to do tasks it wasn't meant to perform. The muscles in my forearm ached constantly, and my handwriting remained messy and slow despite years of practice. I started having nightmares about Mom catching me using my right hand and breaking more bones, dreams where she chased me through the house with the meat tenderizer raised above her head. Full story on my channel and linked below.